following program is a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market updates and trading strategies. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block. With your host, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com and co-hosts Mike Tusaw from KnowYourOptionsInc.com and Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. The Option Block is brought to you by Options Express. Don't spend time worrying about your broker. At Options Express, security, stability, and account protection are the most important responsibilities to our customers. Secure account access, enhanced financial protection, entrusted with over $7 billion in customer assets, established financial stability. Options Express lets you trade with confidence. Stocks, options, and futures, all in one account. Trade with a specialist. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio to open your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
Welcome back to the Option Block, and I hope all of our listeners out there are having a fun and indeed a profitable start to the trading week. My name is Mark Longo from the OptionsInsider.com, as well as the Options Insider Radio Network, and I am joined today on the old panel. It was looking kind of dire there for a moment. Looked like it might be the one-man show again, like it was back in the early days of the Options Insider Radio Network. But no, we indeed have assembled a scratch panel at the last minute, starting off with Mr. Movember, Mr. Monday Mike, good old Mike Cavanaugh from Know Your Options, Inc. Mr. C, welcome back to the show.
Great to be back. The mustache is gone, and we're into the month of December.
So you're no longer triggering child predator alerts wherever you go now?
I am sans moustache, yes.
Or Ron Burgundy lookalike alerts?
Push broom. The push broom on my lip is gone.
All right, and we are also joined by the manager of the Mini Metals himself, taking a break from their globe-trotting tour, good old Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Hey, what's going on? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
And we'll get to, in a minute in the trading block, why Mr. Sebas is so happy today, but it has a little something to do with three letters, and you can guess which three letters those are. And last but not least, we have good old T-Knob holding down the Options Express hot seat. Mr. Navabi, welcome back to the show, sir.
How are you, Mike? Thank you very much. Glad to be here today. Always enjoy doing the show.
I'd be even better if my name was Mike, but my name is indeed Mark.
Mark.
No, I'm doing fine. Maybe he was talking to me.
Yeah, what about that?
He wanted to know how the
think about you all the time, huh,
he
Mark?
wanted to know how that Movember thing was going. He wanted to get an update on it.
Unbelievable.
Calls, puts, they're the same thing.
Too many M's on this show. All right, and with our team assembled and mostly sober, we're going to roll right into the trading block.
The Trading Block.
And welcome to the Trading Block. This is, of course, a portion of the show where we highlight the interesting activity that's moving the needle today. And it was indeed a down day on the old street today. We saw pretty much 1 to 1.5% down moves on most of the major indices. We saw the S&P down nearly 19 handles to 1236. The Dow down 162, nearly 163 to 12,021. The NASDAQ down about 35 handles to 2612. And the good old VIX cash, the number we love to debate endlessly, perhaps ad nauseum, down 0.71 points, or 2.7%, to 25.67. And it has been quite the roller coaster ride for VIX of late. We saw a lot of vacillations last week, a lot of people picking up their insurance in previous weeks and kind of holding on to VIX because they were just fully insured. In fact, a topic we discussed on the most recent episode of Volatility Views, could in fact be possible for people to be fully insured and indeed fully hedged and just riding out the storm there in VIX. We saw a little bit of capitulation to the downside today in the VIX, which we have discussed as well. So, Mr. Sebas, that is, I'm sure, why you were singing Merry Christmas earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, they came in and just, ruined the VIX today. I mean, you could kind of tell something was up kind of all day as we sat here, and VIX did not increase, and just all kinds of just crazy stuff was going on. And we're down 30 handles, and the VIX isn't up 1. And you're sitting there trying to figure out what was going on. And best I could figure out was, they started taking out Christmas already. It seems a little early, if you ask me, especially with all the Europe stuff. But it's got to be the case. And so, it looks like that was really kind of what happened.
Could it not also be as well, though, like we said, a lot of people were buying very near-term downside protection in the S&P over the past few weeks, and now we're moving through a lot of those strikes, a lot of those handles. It could be just taking their chips off the table and cashing in and go home, which is continuing to keep the VIX somewhat suppressed at these levels, I suppose you could say. Do you put much stock in that as well, or you think it's all Xmas?
I don't know. I mean, there could be some insurance rolling off. But I think that there's definitely something like that is beyond just, there's something else going on. And in my opinion, I think it's got to be Christmas.
Well,
yeah. It's the only real reason you'd see something like that.
On a normal day after a weekend, you would normally see a little bit of a pop as people are starting to roll back some of maybe the extra decay they took out over the weekend. Of course, there is the uncertainty going on in Europe, which should also keep a little bit of a pop in that VIX, as well as just the general fact that the market was down 1 to 1.5% across the board today, which also should have put a little bit of spring in VIX's step, and yet we did not see that at all.
Yeah, I mean, they just destroyed it. And, it could be people unwinding a hedge, but my personal feeling, we're probably going to be green tomorrow, and probably more green than we were red today. And you may see, this is one of those opportunities to get some very cheap gamma. So if you look at kind of vol spreads, and here's another reason why I'm pretty sure it's Christmas. We now have front month vol trading at a 1.5 discount to February. So they're literally coming in just killing January now. So I think a really interesting trade would be buying S&P January straddles and selling February straddles against it. I think at this point, premium's starting to get pretty cheap, even with the VIX at 25.
Hey, we all know nothing happens through December and into the early months of the year, so why would you want why would you want some gamma in your back pocket for any particular, let's say, Eurozone implosion or something along those lines?
Right. Exactly.
I think what happened today, I think everyone collectively woke up this morning after the weekend and said, you know what? VIX really isn't moving, or the market isn't really moving the 2+% we need to justify these elevated levels of VIX. So we're all going to collectively crush it today. They all just woke up and had that realization spontaneously today and unilaterally just across the board crushed VIX. That's what I think happened. That's where my 2 cents goes. The quants finally struck.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
All right. And aside from the ever elusive VIX, Mr. Movember, what were you watching today? What caught your eye in the broad markets? What was keeping the boys at KYO busy today?
Well, we had Dr. George point out to us, we mentioned last week the 2 stocks we were watching, and they were 2 of the very few stocks early on that were up on the day, and that is Dollar General and GNC. So Dollar General was up about 88 cents on the day, and GNC was up about 50 cents. So we continue to watch those stocks closely.
No positions yet, though?
No positions outright, and they're Wheel of Fun candidates. The other thing that did catch our eye was the VIX, and there's been a series of just odd patterns with the VIX. It's almost like it's not doing anything near or remotely close to what it should be doing, and it's not like an indicator, but the other day, I think it was last Thursday, the VIX was up and the market was up. Today,
Mm-hmm.
and what happened the next day? It sold off.
Mm-hmm.
And today the market's down and the VIX is down. I kind of agree with what Mr. Sebastian said, that I think we're going to be up tomorrow. Yeah, that's a rarity.
I think there's going to be. I'm telling you, we are setting up for a shot at 1,300 here. Sense it. They're just waiting for one piece of good news, and then they're going to ride this thing up.
I kind of agree with you on that one. I mean, gold today was down pretty big. Crude oil was down pretty big. I think somewhere, the bonds are going to get smacked here pretty soon, and that might just be, at the same time, kind of what you're talking about.
So, Sebas, I should unwind all my covered calls and take the short legs off all my upside verticals here because we're just heading straight north?
Correct. Absolutely. And with the level, well, and vol's now at a level where I think we could, we still need some movement, but 1.5% is doable over the next short period of time. That's my thought.
I concur. And Mr. Navabi, before we close out the old trading block, anything caught your eye particularly today that you thought was interesting on the old trading desk?
Yeah, a couple different things. Like I said, gold was one big one. I mean, we had a lot of people trading the GLD, the SLV, and would you believe it? Netflix. If I told you people were trading Netflix today,
the Widowmaker back and forth, eh? So I guess they've now remortgaged their houses to take a second swing at the bat here at Netflix.
Well, I think there's some news. I don't know. All of a sudden, there's some news on Netflix. What's going on? It's up 5%.
A little
Let's start
bird
trading
told
Netflix
me
again.
There's a little bird told me that there's a rumor floating around that Amazon might buy him.
I hear Verizon is the one that they're mentioning
Redbox
here.
company.
Yeah.
What's that company?
Coinstar.
Yeah, Amazon. Yes, big box, brick and mortar company. That's what I
Coinstar.
heard.
Yeah,
Yep.
Amazon, Coinstar.
Yep. Exactly.
So everybody was all over Netflix today. Not everybody, but it was an active one.
Yeah, they're saying everything I'm reading here is saying Verizon. I don't know if Verizon is exactly the best fit. I think Amazon makes a heck of a lot more sense of those two than Verizon does. Are you going?
Doesn't matter. Just buy some calls.
For the delivery. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the moral of the story, though, whichever way you're going with it with Netflix, just be long premium for the love of God. Don't short this beast any longer.
Doesn't matter who's buying them. Just get in.
Well,
Come on, it's cheap.
For sure, you don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna. I knew it. I mean, here it is. Here's the news. So,
I mean, the 30-year,
yeah,
the 30-year is so cheap right now. Go back, refinance, remortgage the house. 75 at Netflix. You gotta love it. If you loved it at 300, you gotta worship it at 75. The kid doesn't need to go to school for a few more years. Put it into Netflix. You have to tune in live, ladies and gents, to hear the
tomfoolery that goes on.
I think tomfoolery is probably the best description of it. And with that discussion of tomfoolery, we're going to and of course the recommendation to go long Netflix any way possible. Then then we're going to close
truck.
We're going to close out
Can't buy vol cheap enough for Netflix. That's what I can't buy vol expensive enough for Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. There is no
lose buying options in Netflix.
There is no expensive vol in Netflix. Just buy it for the love of God.
Buy them.
Another good idea is to sell puts on it. Sell some put spreads. That's another.
No,
Right.
we don't sell premium in Netflix. Please no.
Naked.
Yeah, naked or nothing in Netflix, baby. Go big or go home.
If you're in an IRA, they're cash covered. It's cool.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah. Well, what you should do is really buy the stock and sell puts against it so that you get long twice.
All right, and with that dubious advice, we're going to close out the old trading block and roll right into the odd block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
And welcome to the Odd Block. This is, of course, the portion of the show where we discuss the interesting, the unusual, and sometimes the downright dubious options activity that's lighting up the old tape today. I want to kick things off with one of my personal favorites, actually, good old Activision, ticker symbol ATVI, closed today at $12.12, down, ironically, 12 cents. So it was a 12-day for Activision, or 1% on the day. And this is the name that does around, say 5,000 contracts a day. They did nearly 10,000 today, so roughly double that. But what we saw in...
I think you'd be remiss not to add that today's date is 12/12. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Oh, correct. There we go.
Wait till next year when it's 12/12/12.
I need to. I feel the need to now to go to Vegas and play some 12s on the roulette wheel or something, and
sure
just
well
that's a good strategy, and see something like this after I go long Netflix and pick up all the premium I could possibly get. And actually, I should short some downside. Then I will hit to Vegas. But of course, Activision. This is Activision Blizzard Inc., maker of a lot of large electronic entertainment software. And we've actually been trading them. I've been trading these guys actively for years now. It's one of my favorites. They vacillate between 11 and 12 so frequently, and up to 13 sometimes. It's a great name for all sorts of bullish risk reversals and 1x2s and a lot of other fun stuff. Looks like today we saw the preponderance of the paper today coming in with someone saying that this name's not going anywhere north of the 12 and or the 13 strike anytime soon. We saw some relatively sizable call sellers for this name with two large chunks for a total of nearly 4,000 contracts, about 3,700, all out in May. The May 12 and the May 13 strikes for $1 and then 54 cents respectively. And looks like he did actually a total of two chunks on each strike, not total. So he did 3,700 the May 12s and 3,700s of the May 13s. So it was a short, stupid. Too bad Tusaw is in here because he would love this one. And this guy obviously thinking that upside will be hard to come by in Activision for a little while longer, but not exactly sure which strike he wants to hit, so he hits them both and takes them both out. But I'm not sure if any of you guys watch Activision, but it has been a very interesting name. They, of course, make some of the big titles that are out these days, like Call of Duty that sells $1 billion and everything like that. So these guys, of course, they run World of Warcraft, which is the most profitable game in the history of existence, I believe. So they have a lot of staple franchises, and yet this name has been relatively solid in terms of, and very range-bound. I mean, they had a few spikes recently in earnings where they got up north of 13 and near to the 14 levels. But everything in terms of vol, in terms of trading range, the stock has been particularly range bound. So we've been trading, this one in and out for a number of years in our portfolio. It's a very, very steady one for us. And I kind of, I think in the near term, I tend to agree with this guy. I think this maybe not the 12s, but definitely the 13 handle. I wouldn't mind. If I had some underlying here, which this guy very well may, then he's looking to pick up some premium. And
did you know that Activision also makes Legends of Zork, and they make Park Patrol? They did the real Ghostbusters, 1993. Popeye 2.
You're looking at all their licensed products, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Return of Zork, which was a great one. Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Let's see what else we got.
I had that one.
They got Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer. That's a great game.
You know what actually...
That's AC Slater's brother.
You know what actually might be the strategic...
Guitar Hero?
Guitar Hero, that's one that went really well for them and then imploded. But what actually might be the strategery behind this one is, of course, Activision makes a ton of money off the World of Warcraft, like we discussed, and their main rival in this space, Electronic Arts, is just launching or about to launch their enormous online Star Wars game, which may indeed, a lot of people think, if anything has a chance to unseat that throne, it is this. So that might be what this guy is thinking as well, saying he's got some shares, he wants to take some money off the table.
Activision came up with Pitfall for Atari?
They've been around for quite a long time, Activision. Yeah, they made everything.
Yeah. Whoever sold these calls may have or may not have seen their recent commercial that includes Chuck Norris.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
I mean, you sell calls on something that Chuck Norris is the sponsor of. I don't know. I just don't see it ending well.
What commercial was it for? World of Warcraft or for Activision?
It was, for the World of Warcraft.
Oh. If you get in the way of Mr. Norris, woe unto you, sir.
That's pretty much what I think is going to happen.
Anyway, interesting trade. I'm not sure if I like the stupid angle of it, but I do like the sentiment behind it. I think I probably would lean a little bit higher on these, but nonetheless, interesting trade. And I had to look. Actually, this is one of the few months I don't think we have anything on right now in Activision. Usually, we have a lot of.
They did Nintendo Ice Hockey. They did Robot Tank.
It's a long list. You're going to be here for a while. But they do pretty much. If there's a big game on the planet that you've played in the last 30 years,
Mech Warrior. Remember Mech Warrior, the computer game? That was a great game.
It's just trip down memory lane for Mr. Sebastian.
Oh man.
So I guess you're thinking this guy is crazy to sell these calls here. You're the buyer of these calls. I guess you're saying here.
Yeah. Well, I'd be a buyer of. I would certainly buy Civilization, Call of Power, and Interstate 76. 1997 is released. Interstate 76, X-Men, Star Trek, True Crime, Rome, Gun, Quantum of Solace, the game.
As we keep listing games, I will roll into the next name. But yeah, an interesting one. We'll keep an eye on this one in Activision, but I think this guy's got a fairly decent handle on where this name is going in the near term. The big season is over for releases, and it's going to be, I think, a quiet period for these guys. Not a bad time to take some, collect some premium and take some money off the table here. And then moving on to Targacept Inc., ticker symbol TRGT. It would not be an odd block without a biochem name or a biopharmaceutical name. This one closed at $7.79, up 31 cents, or about 4% on the day. This is the name that does about 4,000 contracts a day. They did about 22,000 today. And what we saw, the bulk of this activity today seemed to be due to the status of 2 clinical trials on some drugs for treating schizophrenia and ADHD, both of which I think could be useful for Mr. Sebastian, especially as evidenced by today's activity, particularly maybe the latter of those two, the ADHD. And so people liking the idea of these clinical trials, it shows that these drugs are farther along the pipeline. So we saw people gobbling up the upside here in Targacept. First off, we saw one guy picking up 10,000 of the May. Everyone's playing in May next year. 10,000 of the May.
You know what they say, play in May and go away.
Exactly. Pick it up, and then summer comes along, and you're done until the end of the year. I mean, you come back in like October, you trade a bit, and you're done. So you trade twice, and you're pretty good in this May-October strategy. But this guy picked up 10,000 of the May 17.5 30 call spreads here. This was on Friday, actually, so this came out after we recorded the last episode. And then, so 10,000 went up on Friday, and then today, someone thinking, hey, that's a good idea, I'm going to get in on this action as well, picked up 3,000 of the May 10-17 half, so much nearer term.
That's Activision calling Sebastian.
Exactly, saying you forgot to list 700 of our games. And by the way, here's some nice ADHD medication for you. But
I wonder, I mean, there's no way to track this, but TRGT about 4 weeks ago was trading around $18 and it got slammed down to $7. I wonder if the guy buying these options isn't the same guy that got pounded owning a whole bunch of premium upside. He's going to make that money back.
Maybe.
Make that stock make my money back.
You know,
and if you have the same guy that's looking out to, go for a reach to probably catch the upside if we do come back from the next release of clinical trials.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I loved it at 18. I loved it at 20. I got to love it here at 7.5, 7 3/4. Yeah, it looks like two disparate opinions. This guy, he was a little more optimistic. He picked the 17.5 30. Then maybe today he came back. So wait a minute, I mean, to hedge my bets a little bit, get a little bit lower on the old strike chain. I'll pick up the 10-17 half as well. So if it doesn't bump as much in the near term, I'll still be all right. He picked up 3,000 of those today for a net of $1 per contract. So if these clinical trials work out by May, this guy or multiple guys, whoever is putting this on, stands to gain that this name is going to be back. And you're right, Uncle Mike. It was vacillating primarily in the 16 to 18.5 range until it gapped down about a little over a month ago, the 7th, almost exactly a month ago, to where it's trading today. Apparently on news that some of the trials weren't faring as well as people hoped. This guy obviously thinking that those bad days are behind Targacept. So this is a longer-term one. We'll file it away for future review.
Targacept is a great name, don't you think, for a company?
When I first saw a ticker symbol, I said, wait a minute, Target? There's unusual activity in Target? Then I looked at it again and said, oh, okay, Targacept.
No, it's Targacept. It's Target's bacterial weapons division. I don't know if you knew that.
They unleash anthrax on unsuspecting third world nations. Yes, I think we're going to close out the old odd block here today with actually a review of something we talked about back in the end of November, the 28th. We do keep an eye on these names we highlight here in the odd block, and this one actually is good old MGIC Investment Corp, ticker symbol MTG, and we discussed how absurd that is on the last time this show was on, that they have two acronyms in their name, yet that is not their ticker symbol. But we talked about, back in the 28th of November, that someone was selling a ton, 40,000 of these December 3 calls in this name, thinking this name has nowhere to go but up or down, or staying where it is. He chased these bids all the way down to 20 cents, really just annihilating the strike on these DECE 3s. Of course, these are going out this week, and it looks like that bet wasn't exactly the best bet to make. MGIC has pretty much done nothing but up ever since this guy hit the bid on these calls. It's been, if you look at the chart here, it's been pretty much straight up all the way up to about 375 yesterday. Came off a little bit today down to 370. So this guy is just short tons of gamma and short way lower here on this level. So turns out that this sale, not exactly the screaming do that this guy perhaps thought it was. In fact, if you look at the chart here, it's almost to the day where this guy sold these that this thing just takes off to the races and hasn't really looked back, up about 20% since he sold these calls. So as we like to highlight here on the odd block, the size money, not always the smart money or indeed the timely money in this case. So yes, interesting stuff to review, and we'll keep an eye on some of these other ones we talked about here in the odd block, like TRGT, and of course our good friend Activision, to see what comes of them by next May. And that is going to do it for the old odd block today. Now we're going to roll right into the Express Block.
The Express Block, brought to you by Options Express. Options Express lets you trade where and when you want for every level of trading. From advanced charting, free daily trading ideas, and free educational resources, Options Express is the online broker for all traders. Best of all, Options Express allows you to trade stocks, options, and futures all in a single account on powerful yet easy-to-use trading platforms, including mobile devices. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio for your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
All right, and welcome to the Express Block. This is the portion of the show where the boys over at OX take the reins, and I sit back to have a nice frosty beverage. And Mr. Tinav, a little birdie, told me today, and usually my birdies are relatively correct. You're going to talk a wee bit about corporate restructuring and how some of these names, once they announce some news, how it's going to impact the stock, impact the options, and perhaps educate our listeners on this topic. Are my birdies correct, sir?
Yes, you are correct. I get a lot of phone calls. People will say, I got some mail from Options Express, and there's, a whole bunch of legalese and, just a bunch of paperwork I really can't understand. Can you tell me what's going on with the stock? Now, I like these phone calls, I always want to help out the customer. But at the same time, I do kind of scratch my head because, and I will repeat it to him, I'll say, you are the shareholder, you're part owner of the company. So really, try to really be aware as often as you can about what's going on, with your portfolio, stocks in your portfolio. What's the news? So, when I get these phone calls, something's happening to my stock, what's going to happen to the stock, to the option, what's happening in general? Kind of one of the first things I say is, well, let's Google it, because, you're not the only person that sort of is getting this mail, and you're not the only shareholder in the company. So, you can search a number of financial sites and, just look at the headings, about an acquisition, about a distribution. And a lot of times that will just sort of put it in plain English exactly, what's going to happen to the company, whether they are going to be paying a distribution, whether they are, trying to acquire another company and, they want the shareholders' vote. Any kind of corporate action on the stock really is going to be written all over the place. And, I would just like to say that, this is probably one of the first places, to start with. If you really don't understand, what's specifically going to happen to your options, to the stock, when are you going to get paid out, call us, call us in general, when you have questions. But, I do get this call a lot, people saying, I don't understand this. I don't know what's going on. Can you help me out? So, there are a number of resources to use on the web. Start with Google, CNBC, Yahoo Finance. Those are very good. And the OCC, a lot of these companies have options, so the options are going to be affected. So the OCC will have a memo about what the actual, transaction is going to be, what's going to happen to the options. And that website is theocc.com. And you just put the ticker symbol of the stock in the upper right, and you'll see a lot of memos, and you just kind of go through them. So they're pretty simple. So that's what I've got for you today.
Thank you for that, Mr. Navabi. And before we go, my birdies are also telling me that you were pretty busy on the old trading desk today with good old AMWI. That one was lighting up your tape today?
Yeah. It's interesting. I haven't had too many penny stocks that were popular lately. And all of a sudden, probably over the last maybe 7 days, maybe 2 weeks, just a lot of people calling in on this stock. I don't know what it is, what they do, but it is a penny stock, and I think there are some risks involved for sure. They're attractive because they're cheap, but at the same time, there still is risk. So yeah, a lot of people buying it, a lot of people selling it. It's all over the board. Today I thought I didn't really see too much of it, but I know it was a little wild today.
Yeah, this one is Amwest Imaging Inc., and this has all the hallmarks of a traditional email pump and dump, or as the boys in the email business call it, the IR end of the business, where these guys come in, pick up many, many millions of shares of these nonsense garbage stocks, and then proceed to spend a ton of money renting out email lists to promote it. I'm looking here, they've spent many, many euros. It's obviously a European company promoting this already, and the same company is already apparently involved in some legislation or some litigation regarding previous quote-unquote pump and dump schemes that they were involved in. So it looks like this has all the hallmarks of one of those. They obviously rented some very sizable lists and have been promoting AMWI, leading to a lot of people coming in and gobbling this guy up. So if you're one of the sheep, and I hope the sheep aren't listening to our show, but if you're one of these, by all means, don't touch this one with a 10-foot pole, or because these things are just all the hallmarks of a classic pump and dump. I'd imagine even if you wanted to short this thing, there's no shares available to short this thing. Am I correct, Tim?
Yeah, that's correct.
So then there's no options to play it. So just stay the heck away from this guy. There's nothing but heartbreak in this road for you if you go down this pump and dump road. All right, and with that, then we're going to close out the old Xpress Block and roll right into Around the Block.
Around the Block.
And welcome to Around the Block. This is, of course, the portion of the show where we discuss what's coming up on our own collective trading screens and what we're watching for the rest of the trading week. And in terms of the old economic calendar, not too much really on our collective horizons. Of course, you got retail sales coming up tomorrow, which may be interesting just given it's that time of year and the season that we're in to see exactly what the retailers have been doing in terms of Black Friday and into some of the seasonal results that we've been seeing there. Also, of course, we play a lot in the commodities here, and the good old crude inventories will be coming out on Wednesday, so our folks on the commodity side, and of course, I'm sure Mr. T-Knob as well, will be keeping a sharp eye on those. Aside from that, in terms of earnings, not too much lighting up the tape except for our good friends. Speaking of retailers and Black Friday, of course, we have Best Buy. That is talking about the seasonal indicators, talking about the retail sales and Black Friday. Of course, Best Buy will be an interesting one to watch given that. Of course, the earnings are before the open tomorrow, so if you haven't positioned already for Best Buy, then you pretty much have missed your chance unless you want to trade some underlying here in the old after hours. And of course, Auntie/Monday Mike, I know you said you're a big fan of Dollar General and GNC, but I'm looking at some of the other ones you have here. TCBI. I always think of TCBY, of course, the yogurt company. I'm not familiar with TCBI. What is that one you're watching?
That's Texas Capital Bank shares.
Oh.
We have our eye on it. My number one rule in investing is always stay away from any financial company. But every once in a while, we'll get one that comes on our radar. The two in the financial area that we're looking at are TCBI, which is Texas Capital Bank shares. The other one being the Signature Bank in New York, SBNY. We just like the way they're acting on the charts. Seen some nice volume, and that definitely on our radar. Dollar General and GNC, we like. Probably Wheel of Fun candidates here very soon. CXO, Concho Resources, engaged. Concho Resources, I'm just reading the sheet here. They engage in the acquisition and development and exploration of oil and natural gas in southeast New Mexico and West Texas. Their last 4 quarters of earnings have increased 21, 34, 73, and 48%. 3 to 5 year growth rate we're projecting, look at like 76%. Stocks trading right around $100. We like this one as well. It appears to be in an accumulation phase.
Yeah,
by fund managers.
In terms of options volume today, they were spiking pretty hard today. They usually do about 1,000. They did nearly 7,000 today in CXO. So something was afoot out in the land of CXO today. It looks like a lot of DEES 95, 100. So the DEES 95, DEES PAR, and 05 calls were pretty much lighting up the tape. 2,000, 2,500, and 1,600 of each collectively. I can't see here right now if they're those were all buys or what we have. If there were some spreads going on. Looks like the 05s were sales. It looks like there might be a lot of call sales here. So maybe some size call sellers coming to roost here in CXO. So you can take the other side of that paper, Auntie Mike. And
it will buy the dips. We're looking at a stock that's had heavier volume on the retracements. Looks like just a positive sign. So it's definitely on the old Know Your Options radar, and all of our research is done internally by Dr. George. So all the Kool-Aid we drink over here, Dr. George is mixing.
In his defense, it is quite delicious, particularly when it's spiked with some high-end liqueurs and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Then it doesn't matter what he's picking; it's just fantastic punch. But of course, you mentioned the Wheel of Fun. Of course, you guys are looking at most of these names for your proverbial sell a nice put, pick up some premium, and then if the stock moves against you, you pick up the underlying and then roll into a covered call. Is that the strategy you're looking at for pretty much the bulk of these names here?
That would be it, the Wheel of Fun.
When do you so I'm thinking of what's the show? The No Whammies, not the Wheel of Fortune, but
Press Your Luck.
Press your luck. There we go.
Maybe we'll change it to the Press Your Luck trade.
Call it the No Whammies, more money, no whammies Wheel of Fun over at KYO. And Mr. Navabi, anything you guys are watching aside from a few pump and dumps here that are lighting up your tape?
I don't like to watch those at all. I don't like watching people buy them, and I don't like being around when they go to sell them either. We're watching. There's a lot, I think, going on this week. I mean, I'm watching to make sure that people who are long the E-mini S&P for December, hoping that they get out before Friday, 8:30 a.m. Central Time. So, yeah, I mean, we have a big expiration coming up on Friday. Gold was a big mover today. Still looking at, a lot of the equity markets. If they start moving higher, then they're kind of pushing through this, short-term resistance here. And, we could definitely see some upside. As far as news is going on, I thought this was kind of a news week here. Best Buy, I know, is going to be active tomorrow. That's for sure. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of calls on that. And retail sales tomorrow, like you said, crude inventories, like you said, initial claims on Thursday, Philadelphia Fed on Thursday, Friday CPI. So, yeah, I mean, I think it is going to be kind of a busy week.
So you're telling me, Tim, that you're falling into the degenerate bull camp as well? You think we have a lot of upside ahead of us here?
Oh, oh, now, yeah.
I start to get worried when Sebastian is
put
singing.
My name on it. Well,
when Sebastian is singing all these positive tunes about the market, and he turns bullish, and then Tusaw was bullish on the last show. I think Uncle Mike or Auntie Mike here is a little bullish as well. And now you two are singing the bullish tune, Mr. Tinov.
Singing the bullish tune. You know, if I were to sing a tune, it would probably start out that way. Yeah.
Interesting. This is the first time that I think collectively the bulk of our hosts here have been singing such a bullish tune for quite a while. I know even into the teeth of the rally, a lot of us were thinking this was oversold, overdone. But perhaps it is indeed time to start singing those happy, happy songs.
I mean,
it's a great time to fade.
Right.
Either way. Bad recommendation consistently is just as great as a great recommendation. So.
Yes, exactly.
There we go. I think with those words of wisdom, we will close out the Around the Block segment, and we will also close out this episode of the Option Block. I want to thank all of my cohorts, my partners in crime, for joining me on the show today, starting off with Mr. Seabass, a.k.a. Mr. Slinky, a.k.a. manager of the mini metals over at OptionPit.com. What is coming up over there at Option Pit that may interest our listeners, Mark?
This Wednesday, based on my kind of analysis I did for Mad Money, we're going to be doing a half-hour to 45-minute seminar on using the VIX as a trading indicator. Go to optionpit.com/events to register.
All right, sounds good. I think that's Kramer calling you right now to confirm.
Sell.
Now.
All right. And, of course, I know you boys over at KYO are in the process of rejiggering the old webinar schedule. Have you settled down on how you're going to do it from henceforth, or are you still debating internally how the webinars are going to unfold?
We'll have a full new schedule out in calendar year 2012. So if the Mayans are right, we'll have one of the best years ever for webinars, and then it'll be the last year ever for webinars. So we'll have a new webinar schedule out. We've got the open invitation out there. You know, if you want a one-on-one webinar, you can schedule a one-on-one webinar with somebody over here. That just comes down to pick out an hour in the day, and we'll try to bend to your schedule. We're also going to start putting collective thoughts out on our blog. We've got a blog at our website, knowyouroptionsinc.com. So we're going to have the blog updated more frequently with more of the Kool-Aid coming out of our little shop over here. And then we're going to have a little Christmas cheer, holiday cheer. This week we're going to have our little office Christmas party. It should be about 10 of us here. A little eggnog. It'll be fun. That's about it. That's all that we got going on.
And a little birdie told me there might be a fun gathering going on at the KYO offices on Wednesday as well this week, where some interesting...
I'll let you say. I know there will be, and we're really looking forward to it. Call it the premier resource meeting for anybody that does anything in options in the entire world.
Yes.
Those minds will be meeting on Wednesday.
That's our limited scope for this program. Pretty much anyone and everyone. Of course, this will go over the heads of the bulk of our listeners here in the audience. I won't belabor it, but it will. If you are indeed involved in the options ecosystem here, then you probably will be at that meeting then on Wednesday here at the KYO offices. Be there or be square at 3:30 p.m. And you know who you are out there, who I'm talking to. And it should be a fun lineup of people we have arranged for that. And of course, Mr. Tinov, what is going on over at what is going on over at Options Express, sir?
We do have some webinars. We have a webinar coming up on the 14th. It's a complimentary coaching event. It's titled Trading Income Strategies. That is on the 14th. And let's take a look here. As far as the other events coming up, Income and Protection. Another complimentary coaching event, Growth, Income, and Protection. That is also coming up on the 13th. And you can go to optionsexpress.com and register for those webinars.
All right, thank you for that. And of course, if you want to hear more about any of the material we discussed on the show today, as well as the numerous topics we did not have time to address, then surf on over to theoptionsinsider.com. optionsonsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio there in iTunes. You can find all of our programs, including the newly launched Advisors Options program the Advisors Option program. And don't worry, episode 2 is coming right down the pike, so stay tuned for that. And that is going to do it for this show. I want to thank everyone out there for downloading and streaming and subscribing to this program and making it such a success. And we'll see you next time right here on the Option Block.
Become a part of the Option Block. Just visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/forum to post a question for the hosts. You can also submit questions to twitter.com/optionblock or leave a voicemail at 312-544-9356. Make it interesting and your question just might make it on the air. The Options Block is property of the Options Insider Incorporated. All rights reserved.